Welcome to She's Black,
where we keep it real, raw, and relentless
about all things black women. What's up, y'all? It's Quebec.
And it's India.
And we are the hosts and founders of the She's Black show, the podcast, of course, where we keep it real, raw, and relentless about all things black women. So remember, before we get started, go ahead, if you have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, the She's Black show. Make sure you like, make sure you share, hit the notifications button so you don't miss an episode.
Yes.
Also, you can follow us on Instagram at the She's Black show. Also on Facebook at The She's Black Show, and on our webpage at www.theshe'sblackshow.com. All right, we're keeping it real simple, real easy for you to find us. Make sure you link up and share and let your people and your friends know so you can support us. So today's episode, all women are created equal or not. We're going to be digging in today, and we're really going to be talking about our value. You know, what is our value? How do we determine what our value is? Are we realistic about what we're worth? And this is going to be a really interesting episode, and hopefully it gives you some moments of introspection, some moments to really think about how you present yourself, and are you worth what you really think you are?
That's
and if you're
not, a lot of
not,
people talking.
right, and if you're not worth it, what can you do to reach it or to improve?
Right.
So that's what we'll get in. We're going to start off by just defining the word value, just so we can keep it kind of transparent as to what the basis of most people who speak the English language anyway determine what value is.
So what, you're going to get the dictionary version?
Well, yes, I've already gotten it prepared. We're ready. So defined by Oxford Language as a noun, the word value is the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something, a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. As a verb, it is to estimate the monetary worth of something or to consider someone or something to be important or beneficial or have a high opinion of something or someone. So I think that kind of rounds up, you know, the definition of the word value, and obviously we can all kind of swing it one way or the other depending on our perspective.
Yeah, I was about to say, depending on how you see it can still be kind of changed.
Right. So with that being said, do you feel, India, that these definitions, as I just read them, apply to us as black women, both individually and collectively as a whole, black women?
Oh, definitely. I really do. I feel like we hold so much value in so many different categories, but then it's also like I said, it depends on what you value. You know, like what you really, because like somebody might not care about a lot of those things. Somebody just may want you for something really simple that a lot of people really don't value, and they might be like, oh, that's high value. But that's odd. We got to get deeper into that one.
A little deeper into it. So for me, do I think the definitions apply? Absolutely, at their face value. At their face value, the definitions definitely apply. The regard that something deserves, like how much attention should be invested in you, how high of a pedestal mentally or intellectually or economically we should be placed upon, or protection, how much we deserve attention, affection, recognition. In my personal opinion, those definitions definitely apply. Standards of behavior, obviously.
I can think when it comes to women, okay, collectively, all women, I feel like, there's a certain value that people feel like we can have. But I also kind of feel like with each race, they feel like, oh, if you're black, you should be able to do this, this, and this. Like, automatically, if you're black, you should be able to cook. You should be nurtured. You should be strong, Like, okay, if you're Caucasian, you should be this, this, this. If you're like, I feel like with each race, they don't say it, but they kind of expect you to have certain things. Like, if you're Caucasian, some people, not all, feel like, oh, you shouldn't get, the Caucasian lady should not get mad easily. She should be really easygoing because you're white. And if they do kind of come off as a little bit, they want to state their opinion. Some people may see that, oh, that's not a good thing, you know.
Okay, so I get it. That it feels like different races or
stereotypes, you know.
Got you. Like different races or cultures may be on a different measuring scale of what value is. I can see that a little bit. I think due to some previous stereotypes.
Yeah,
you know,
these are stereotypes.
Right.
I don't feel like they're just
the absolute what it is. I do think that some different races of women could potentially be held to different standards, and those different standards could affect how you see what that particular woman is worth within her race or her culture that she's in. So I can get to that, and I think that's a little bit of something we're going to touch on a little bit later down the line. So just how do you personally define your value, your individual value?
It's so hard with that. And I've had this conversation with people before. Like, tell me yours first.
Okay, how do I define it?
I don't just put a level on myself like that.
Really? So for me, how do I define my value? You know, I'm not going to spill the beans yet on what I think I'm worth. However, the way that I determine what I'm worth is it's a lot. You know, when I was young, I didn't know how to. I was a girl. I was a black girl. And it wasn't like there was a ton of examples or conversations around worth or value, you know, around me. I wasn't exposed to that much. So I had no clue. I used to hear people say, you need to have better self-esteem, or, you know, you need to know that you're worth more than that. And people would always be like, you know, when you get treated wrong by somebody, you're worth so much more than that.
See, I didn't start hearing stuff like that till I got an adult.
Well, I heard it, you know, young, but I didn't know what it meant. Nobody explained, like, what do you mean I'm worth more than that? And so I didn't know how to define my value. But as I got older, what I learned was that what I brought to the table needed to be matched. And that's not just in a relationship, because a lot of people will apply that directly to, I'm talking about a man matching what I bring to a table. And absolutely not. I'd worked hard since I was 14 at a job. I expect to be paid for what I bring to the table. If I work this many hours, I want this much pay, you know? If I do this level of work in comparison to what my peers at the same job do, then I don't expect, you know, if I do a certain amount of work or a certain quality of work that exceeds what the others amongst me are doing, then when I got my first raise, I learned, oh, I got this raise because I'm more consistent, I work harder, and the quality of what I produce at work is higher than others. So I selectively got a raise and other people didn't. And I started to learn, like, okay, my hard work pays off. It's worth more. The same thing when they start to teach you, you know, go to college, or, you know, get this degree or get this level of a job, because this job pays you more and this job doesn't. And so you start to, like, kind of navigate through this world of value just by what society presents us. You never really know how to apply it to your inner person. Not up front, because you're not taught that. You're taught how to work, how to act, how to do things or fit into a particular mold, because that mold is going to yield more value. And oftentimes that value translates to money, right?
I was about to say, because, like, I can easily come up with the value for, like, you know, your work skills and dedication and stuff like that when it comes to, like, financial things. But, like, when it comes to actually, like, myself, it's like, I would like somebody who's going to give me what I give. But, like, as for, like, value, I don't just really be looking at myself, oh, I'm high value, I deserve this type of person, this type of person. It's like, I really just want to just be me. And it's like, if somebody comes, or, you know, or if somebody see me as worthless, or if somebody see me as valuable, it's like, it really doesn't even bother me. And it's crazy because everybody kind of see themselves as, okay, well, I know I'm worth this, I know I'm worth that. But it's like, me, it's like, I just want to just be. If that makes any sense. Like, I don't really see it like, oh, I know I'm so valuable. I'm valuable as a person to myself, but are we talking about the opinions of how other people value us? Because in the end, because, like, if they just leave today, it's like, then that value don't really matter anymore.
Right. So I think it's your personal opinion of how you value yourself, but I think maybe you have a more subconscious, you've given yourself a value subconsciously that maybe you don't, I guess, express consciously or on the surface level. And what I mean by that is, if you are in a relationship or a friendship, for example, we won't go to relationships, but let's say you're in a friendship, and in that friendship, you find that the friend is not treating you the way that you expect to be treated as a friend, is not respecting you the way you expect to be respected as a friend. Do you just remain in that friendship just because, like, oh well,
No,
you know?
You're right.
So, you know, eventually you navigate your way away from it because you feel like you're ultimately worth more than that. And so subconsciously, I think we give ourselves value that we haven't, some of us have not, either we just have never expressed it consciously, or we're not comfortable expressing it. And I think that's kind of where this topic is hitting home at, because a lot of times we're scared
I wonder
to give ourselves.
My issue. Am I comfortable expressing it?
You know what? I used to not be. I used to feel like I wanted to be the humble woman, the humble girl. I didn't want to be the bougie girl who you gotta buy me bags, and I'm still not that girl. You don't have to buy me bags. I don't want no red bottoms. You do not. If I go get my nails done, you know, or my feet done, I can do it myself. I don't mind, but I'm not looking for a budget for nails and hair. I'm not looking for a clothing budget. I wanted to be that humble girl, and I still to an extent am, but I wanted it so bad that I mislabeled my value. And what I mean by that is, you know how you go in the grocery store and let's say you're going for honey, right? The honey that's the cheapest is the lowest level of honey. And the more expensive the honey gets, the higher the shelf it sits on, right? And so I used to mislabel myself. I had people around here thinking, you know what I'm saying, I'm that little bottom shelf honey, you know, that little $3 honey. And no, I learned a lot. I was intelligent. I was well-spoken. I made sure I kept myself, you know, sacred to a certain extent. And so I'm really top shelf honey out here for $3. Like, you know, because
I can kind of understand that, because I know, like, I'm gonna take it to dating. Like, this isn't just with myself. I know, like, I'm just taking it towards dating. It's been times where, like, some people or certain guys, they may try to date me or whatever. I guess because they think it's gonna be easy, something like that. And then once they get to know me, they see, this ain't really what I signed up for. This is a little bit heavier than what, you know, I thought it was gonna be. This is a little bit harder. She has more respect for herself. She requires more of me than what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be something easy when really this is something challenging.
Right.
You know?
So I think to me, that's exactly what I'm speaking about. It's the result of, like, not openly expressing your value. Because now you've given people the illusion that you come at a lower price. I used to say all the time, this used to be my thing, and this is when I learned to express my value, how I used to express it. I think it's funny looking back at it now, but I would still say it today if I wasn't already taken, married, claimed, all of that. I used to tell people, okay, so just for the context of what I'm about to say, gold time represents like a jewelry kiosk in a regular everyday mall, the little kiosk where you can go and spend $100-$200, get a little chain, and feel like you balling, right? And then there's Tiffany's, and we all know, you know, you're not gonna walk in Tiffany's and walk out of Tiffany's with anything with gold time money. So I used to tell people all the time, don't come shopping at Tiffany's with gold time money. And I didn't mean that in a sense of money. I didn't mean in the sense of money, but what I meant was, if you're going to approach me for anything that you want my involvement in, be prepared for what it takes for me, what you may have to give, sacrifice, or lay on the table to get what you're looking for from me, you know? And that was my little way, my little funny kind of, you know, to me, cute way of letting people know I know my worth, right? When I first figured it out, and I didn't know it then, but I knew I was worth more than what I was getting. I knew, like, no, it ain't $3, baby. I'm at least a $7 honey, okay? You have to come up a little bit to get this honey. So, with that being said, that's how I define my value, has been based on, like, looking at my past, like, looking at the things that I've had to go through to get to whatever point of life that I'm currently at, and what did I do to get there? Like, what did I do to heal? What did I do to progress? What did I do to overcome? What did I do to elevate? And the harder the work was to get there, the more the worth is for me, you know? So if I really had to put work in on myself, then I gained more points. at the more work I did. If it came easy, then maybe I'm on a different scale. Maybe I haven't hit the point where something has to really define my value. So for me, my life wasn't easy. It wasn't, I wasn't a silver spoon in your mouth kind of person. And I don't mean that just financially. I mean that in the sense of having exposure to culture, to education,
right.
to just knowing how to take care of myself, self-love, having exposure to how to provide yourself self-love.
I was like 30.
Right. And there's so many young people, like I'm sure your daughters now, you're already teaching them while they're little, right? But they get exposure to that early. We didn't, because our parents were in a struggle. They worked 2 and 3 jobs. They were, we were latchkey kids overnight sometimes, because our mamas worked night jobs and nobody else was in the house. So all we knew how to do was just to be safe, be as safe as we could, survive. And so out of that, we had to do a lot more to level up. We had to do a lot more to be competitive as a human being, to be competitive as a member of society, to be competitive as women, to be competitive as Black people. We had to do a lot more. And with that lot more, that's how I define and measure my value. Because I know the work I had to put in to just stand next to some people who were born already standing there.
Right.
So with that being said, do you feel like we settle for less than we're worth? Or have we? And I'm speaking individually and collectively.
And in what category are we talking about?
I think, not in a particular category. There may be some that we don't settle for less. There may be some that we definitely do, routinely and make it a habit. But I think in general, in life, and
I think so a little bit. This one's gonna be kind of personal. You may not see it as settling since you can't choose another one, but this is in reference to parenting. I had a situation happen recently with my mother, and I love her, I do, but sometimes you see that the parent that you are to your children, you may not get that from your parents. And sometimes I've come to the realization that people may not be able to love you the same way you want, and so you just gotta settle for what you're gonna get. And I kind of feel like I've finally come to okay, I'm gonna just settle and not just ask for any further when it comes to my mother, to show it in a different way that I can reciprocate in a way that I need compared to what she can actually give. So in that category, I kind of feel like I just recently, because I'm happy, I feel like I've settled with that. I'm just gonna settle, even though I know I deserve different. I'm just settled for that. And I know that may be weird, but I come to that realization with that one.
I think when it comes to parents, it's easy to settle, because this emancipation, it's kids emancipating from their families. That's something new. It's something new. It's something privileged. Because how are we going to emancipate? What are we going to do? We don't have no money. We don't have nowhere to go. We don't have nobody to come save us. So we don't have the opportunities to, decide that we just going to free ourselves from our parents and take part of the money that they have set aside for us and they work really hard for, and go figure out how to live off of it. We don't have those luxuries. So with that being said, oftentimes, you're kind of forced to settle when it comes to your parents, because what else can you do?
What else can you do?
Right. And then when you're older, you can, ask for what you feel you need more. You can have, challenging conversations, but it doesn't guarantee any result. Right. It doesn't guarantee any change from them. And whether or not they choose to change, it doesn't change the fact that that's your parent. They can stay however they are, and they're still going to be your parent.
Still love them, still be close, but But something also, I'm going to take it towards dating. When people say settling, it's like it's such a bad stigma to it. Settling doesn't always have to be bad. If I'm in a car lot and it's 5 BMWs, and they're which one are you going to get? All of them are good, and they'll be okay, I'll settle for this one. But, because I want all of them, I'm just get this one. That really don't mean it's a bad thing, because I know with dating, you can meet someone and they may not have a lot, but you can see their potential, and you could be okay, this may not be a $1 billion person right now, but I can see it in them. And some people might be like, "Oh, you settled," and that person turned out to be just an awesome person, financially become awesome in so many different ways that they weren't when you first got them, but you saw the potential in them. So I don't feel like in that situation I settled. I feel like I invested.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, I would rephrase that to investment. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's not a settling. Settling would be if you got that person and they got potential, but they never delivered on it, ever. And you just said, I didn't spend 5 years. I guess I might as well throw in a towel, and this is what I got, Then you settle.
Okay, so can you really know if you settled from the beginning then? That seems like that would be something you'd find out later on in it.
I definitely think the knowledge of whether or not you settled is hindsight. It's definitely not a foresight thing. You can't foresee. Well, you can. You can foresee settling if a person is not up to the standard that you have for yourself and you decide to go with it. But oftentimes, if you know the standard that you have for yourself, you're not just going to go with it. Yeah. So 9 times out of 10, settling is hindsight. Settling is when you have been, or you can see it at the moment you decide to do it. When you've been in a particular situation for so long that you're now attached to the idea of reciprocity. You know what I'm saying? You're attached to the idea that what you've invested will one day magically come out, even though history has shown you that it's not going to happen. So to me, that's a settling moment, and it's definitely.
Do you think people even really know that they settle when they're actually in those situations? Because I'm trying to think about some past incidents, like relationships that I were in that was like horrible. And it's like in that moment, I didn't think I was settling. I thought I was trying to build something, like still fix it. Like even though the bricks keep falling down, like I'm gonna get it to work, So it wasn't until afterward I saw like I settled.
Well, I think that's kind of like what they call fight or flight syndrome. Mm-hmm. When you're in the fight, the adrenaline rush is so high that you don't really recognize the situation that you're in. Yeah. You're just responding. And so you're not able to like really think it through. But once the fight is kind of settled, the smoke is cleared, you can see more clearly like the situation that you're actually in. So no, I mean in the heat of it, you may not realize that you're settling, but there are clues, there are hints, there are things that you may have done for yourself before, or you may have had for yourself before that you see dwindle, you see go away completely. There may be feelings that you have about yourself that change over time, ways that you invest in yourself, that you stop investing in yourself. Yeah. And those things are all the red flags that, hey, I'm giving too much and receiving too little. And that's what settling is. It's giving too much and receiving too little, and deciding not to go after what you really deserve. So with that being said, how do we go after what we deserve? Like, how do we tell somebody, this is what I'm worth, I will not settle, and either A, you're going to give me what I'm worth, or B, somebody will. Have you ever stated that?
Yes, I have. I have. And it seems like the older you get, you are able to just kind of like blatantly put it out there, like real easily. You don't entertain situations, whether it's friendships, situations at work, relationships. You pretty much like when it happened, you might be like, okay, the first time, all right. But the second time something happened, it's like it's so easy for you to walk away, and you walk away so quickly from things. People question, like, the person who may be doing it, they question like, are you okay? Like they're not even clear what they did, because they're so used to having chance after chance after chance of doing stuff to people that when you go on and put your boundaries up really quick, they're not really used to it. And I think like the older you get, you pretty much get through that. I'm gonna say cut stuff off really easily, because I noticed I really have a low tolerance for a lot of stuff now, and I'm more honest than what I used to be, like in my 20s. And I wish I was like that in my 20s. I really could have cut out a lot of situations.
So I have a question about that. Do you feel like getting fed up and just cutting it off is actually commanding your value?
I don't even like now. It isn't even getting fed up. It's like you have a history of knowing how stuff works. Like, okay, if somebody do this, probably this gonna come next. Even though they might not know they're gonna do this next, you already know. they're gonna do this next. So when they do it next, it's like, I know it's gonna happen. And you're not even mad. It's just like, okay, I'm gonna just stop this before it happens because I've already been through it in the past. You're not mad at them or nothing. It's like, I just don't feel like entertaining it no more. I'm okay. Whether it's friends, relationships, or anything like that, you can go on and just pretty much like stop it before it gets too far.
So from my perspective, right, you know how you said you wish that you knew the things that you know now in your 30s and your 20s as far as commanding your worth. I will say maybe it's because, I'm 40, right? I'm not in my 40s, like well into them. But, when you start hitting 38, 39, you're approaching your 40s, things change. And what I've learned is, my husband can tell you and other people can tell you, I am a cut it off. Once I realize I'm worth more than this, that used to be my thing. I'm cutting it off. I'm cutting it off. I'm done. I'm cutting it off. And what I realized was, so when I cut it off, then what?
Have you always been like that?
No, that was a development. So that was in my 20s, just like you said, I was overly patient, overly giving.
I look back at myself and I'm
try.
like, what was wrong with me?
I think it's just a part of us learning, right? I hit my 30s, I would say mid 30s, but somewhere in my 30s, and I was like, I am not dealing with this. I had no patience, no time for it. I cut it off. Recently, and when I say recently, within the past 2 years, so I'm about to be 41. So this means in my 40s, for me, 39 to 40, it dawned on me, I keep cutting it off. I cut it off. Cut it off. And then I got to start back over with a new person I'm probably going to cut off. So, with that being said, a new job, a new whatever, you're probably going to cut it off. And so, what I learned was commanding my worth, there's levels. The first level is figuring out what you're worth. That's where you're at in your 20s, right? In your 30s, you kind of got a grasp on, okay, I know I'm at least worth this. You might not know it entirely, but you got a baseline, and then you're like, I'm not tolerating anything less, right? And so you do that, exactly what you said, you cut it off. In your 40s, that's when I think you start to realize, and I can't say 40s, for me personally, it has been, very close to 40 that I hit it. You gotta ask for it.
What do you mean?
You gotta state it. You have to say, okay, like when you go to a job, right? You ask for, even on applications these days, what is your expected salary? You have those conversations. And so cutting it off is one thing, but you may cut off someone who is willing to give you what you deserve. They just don't know what your cost is yet. They don't know what they have to sacrifice for you. And so commanding your worth becomes, because to command is a vocal, not just vocal, but it is an act. It is an act that does not recede. It is an act that pushes forward, right? Cutting off means I'm stepping back from you and I'm rerouting. To command something, you don't have to step back from anything. You keep moving forward. And so sometimes you just have to say, listen, this is not really giving me what I wanted to give. Yeah, it's not giving, right? It's not giving. However, the fact that we are here means that you have the potential to give. Let me tell you what I need. Because you'd be surprised at how much a person, an entity, a business even, a community can give you what you need when you learn how to clearly ask for it.
That is so good.
And so you have to
you really don't ask a lot of stuff. I think a lot of people don't want to feel awkward when it comes to asking, because a lot of times we just assume that someone should know how to treat you or know
to match your energy,
right? To match
how
your
to
energy.
match your energy, right?
But then something else, because like with my I say like with one of my last situations, if they're not used to dealing with someone like your energy, then they don't really know. If
they don't even recognize what your energy is.
If they're used to dealing with somebody whose energy is way different from yours or requires way less, not saying you're demanding, but you may require a little bit more, then they're not going to do it because they're not used to it. So that does make sense to actually ask for it. That way you won't see them as a bad person because they didn't even know. So that makes sense.
So with that being said, should we blatantly state our bar? I think it's the most fair thing that we can do to every entity of a relationship that we're in. At a job, If I'm not going to be satisfied with $15 an hour, why start a $15 an hour job without saying to the person that hired me, is there any chance I can get $18 an hour? Because that's what I need to meet my needs. They can say yes or no.
But people are scared to ask, though.
But, I mean, they're scared to ask, a lot of them, because they don't know that, one, it is their responsibility. It is your responsibility to ensure that you at least strive to get what you need.
Right.
That is your responsibility. But also, it's your freedom. It is your freedom. It is your right to ask for what you need. If I go and I say, hey, is there a chance that I can have $18 an hour for this job? They're going to do one of two things. Say yes or say no. If they say no, you know, what we're doing is fair to everybody. If they say no, then that's fine. We at least know that we're not going to get what we feel we're worth at that job, and maybe we need to take an opportunity to look for another one. Or
I don't think people want to take that risk of looking for another one, though.
Take the risk of looking for another job?
Yeah, because they might feel like, well, I don't think it'll happen, but they might feel like if I ask them for more, they might be like, no, we're going to go with someone else. And I think people may think that.
And me personally, I've come to realize that if they choose to go with someone else, that's fine. Because if $18 supplies my standard of living, then $15 will not do it.
Yeah,
no matter how you looked at it. So what's the point in taking a job that will not meet my standard of living? Whether I look for another job today or 3 months from now, I'm going to look for another job. And in 3 months, I could be behind on bills. I could have messed up my credit. You know, and that's kind of the way that life works. When you allow yourself to take less than what you're worth from any situation, you end up behind the 8 ball. You end up in a position that now you have to recoup what you lost in the process of taking less than you deserve or less than you were worth. So for me, I've become very comfortable, and I didn't just become comfortable because I grew up.
Like you become with relationships, though?
Am I the same way with relationships?
Yes. Because a lot of people, especially a lot of women, are scared to ask for what they want up front because they're scared that the guy might walk away up front. So they'll just kind of stick it out and hope later
that he's going to magically figure out what they want. So then what do they want with that guy? Like, why are they with that guy? You know what I'm saying? Are you with him because he's cute? He's attractive? Because other people want him? Are you with him because he makes a lot of money? Because if what you really want, you're afraid to ask for, and if you need to ask for what you really want, that means you don't already have it. So that means that guy's not what you want. At least not right now.
Well, you know, sometimes at the beginning of relationships, a lot of guys will start off giving you a lot of stuff. Not exactly everything you want. They'll start giving you a lot of stuff that you haven't had before. So you'll be like, oh, this guy right here has a lot of value. Maybe I need to, you know, stick around with him, but I'm scared to ask him for more because then he may run away.
Well, honey, I don't know. I mean, I haven't always been this way, but I've definitely grown to be this way. Is that if I ask for what I want and he runs away, he wasn't mine to start. He wasn't mine. He wasn't for me. Or maybe I wasn't for him. And I'm okay with either one. I'm perfectly okay with either one because of the fact that you're not going to have a happy life in a situation that you're not meant to be in.
You're right about that.
Period, point blank. And so with that being said, me, I have non-negotiables. I use that word. My husband has heard me use that word. We use that word. What? Because there is compromise. You might not get every single thing you want just the way that you want it. But there needs to be certain things that define who you are and how you feel about yourself that you will not relent on. You will not move. You will not push back. And you're not afraid that if this person is incapable of delivering on my non-negotiable, that they're going to walk away. Because if they do, that's fine. That wasn't the person, or that wasn't the job, or that wasn't the situation, or the friendship. Because your non-negotiables are the building blocks of your character as those outside of you see you.
One of my non-negotiables is from the first marriage that I had, well, the only marriage that I had. One of mine was when we were together, I didn't really have no friends. I didn't have many friends. It wasn't until I met you and then met Nikki, then I had friends, because moving to Albany, I didn't know anybody. And since that was y'all were pretty much only friends I had, once me and him separated, I made more friends. And it was this time I was dating this guy. It was like, oh my God, connection was awesome. We were like in so many ways. We would stay up all night debating about situations. You know, like we could talk for hours. Like it was like probably one of the best dating experiences I've ever had. And it was only one thing he had an issue with. He was like, if we continue, we had a conversation on what we expect and everything. And he was like, if we continue, there's one thing that, you know, it was a non-negotiable for him. It was for me, he was like, I don't want my woman to have no male friends. Everything was amazing. Like, it was awesome. He was like, you don't want this woman to have no male friends. Well, one of my closest friends is a guy. He wasn't someone I was willing to cut off for, even though this was an awesome experience. It was like one of the best dating experiences I had. We had to wind up ending it that night over that. We didn't argue or nothing. We just was like, that's nothing either one of us want to budge on. And we ended that because of that.
Do you regret it?
No.
Right.
I don't.
Your non-negotiable is you presenting your character firmly to someone and being okay with it. And you can look back and you can look at all the things you shared and you have great memories. But imagine the fights you would have had if you gave it up.
You're right.
Imagine the frustration you would have had. Imagine the different viewpoint you would have had of this person who you had an amazing moment in life with. And life is just full of moments. They can be moments that continue to last until the rest of your life, or they can just be moments that round themselves off and still be beautiful. Non-negotiables, setting boundaries, asking for you want provides an opportunity for moments to remain a moment and a beautiful one versus turning into something ugly or giving or sacrificing. It's nothing wrong with that. He had a non-negotiable that you didn't have male friends and yours didn't fit.
Anything. You're right. It's just something he just wasn't willing to bend on, and I wasn't either.
Right. And so that exactly it. I do think that is perfectly okay.
Have you had one?
Have I had a non-negotiable that caused a breakup in a relationship? Yes. This is not. Yes. Okay. This is a little dirty one. This a little deep. A little. Okay. Y'all, my husband is filming this, so I'm gonna just put it out there. No judgments. So I had an ex, and my non-negotiable. I have nothing against people's sexuality, however it may be. But one, I don't want a man who's interested in men. I just don't. There are women who will date bisexual men.
Yeah, there are some women
I'm not that woman.
Who will continue to date their man after they find out. They'll continue to make it work.
Right, and that's, if you're that woman, kudos to you. That's great. That's wonderful. If you're in that type of relationship, good. You found the people that work for you. I'm not one of them. And, I'm married now, so I don't have to worry about that. But if I wasn't, don't come at me with nothing like that. I'm not into that. It doesn't work. And it's not because I think it's gross or anything like that. It's because I don't want to spend my time wondering if you're preferring to be with me right now or with a man. Because I can never be a man.
Did he want to continue to make it work after you find out?
Absolutely. And I was absolutely not for it. Like, no. What do you mean?
Well, some people believe in fluid relationships, like they can have their one at home. And because if he was bisexual, that don't mean he had to date. If he was, like to have an open relationship, he was just going to date other women on the outside. I mean, the option for men was open also, but.
Well, for me, ain't no option open unless I present it. And you can close it. But, if I don't present it, I ain't ready for it. And I'm not. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't.
But were you able to go on and cut it off? Like, how long did it take you to cut it off? Or was it something like, okay, I'm done?
Well, this is the thing. When I found out, it took a little bit longer than it should have. Not because I wasn't ready to cut off that type of thing, but because I had to basically prove to him that I knew that this was the situation because he was hiding it.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So it was this whole ringer of... that's not the case. You got it mixed up and I'm feeling like I'm not crazy. And so I had to kind of like weave this whole trap to catch him in and say, look
prove
here.
Your evidence, build your case.
Right. Let's just go ahead because you're playing. But with that being said, yes, I've definitely had that. That's an extreme example, but there have been other milder, regular examples and some situations that I didn't, I didn't recognize my non-negotiable enough to cut it off in a timely manner.
Yeah.
With that being said, should you set boundaries at the beginning of a relationship every time? Do you feel like that's healthy?
I feel like at the very beginning, I feel like as people will go as far as you let them. If you started at the beginning, then people will know not to try to push you as far when it comes to a lot of situations. Yes, I do believe in that.
I do too, and it's taken experience to believe in it. But one thing I've also learned is sometimes you don't know a boundary until it's been crossed.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think as soon as it's crossed, as soon as you've been crossed, you need to be mature enough to have a conversation about having felt crossed.
Yeah.
And then go from there. And are you hesitant to command your value? Obviously, y'all probably gathered mine is an absolute no. I'm not. I'm not. I'm worth what I'm worth, and I'm gonna tell you. How about you?
No, I say compared to what I used to be, I'm more vocal of commanding my value compared to what I used to be. Now, sometimes I may not say stuff, but I'll show it in action that, okay, well, I'm going to stop dealing with this, or it has to be like this. So every time I might not say nothing, but I may show it. You know?
Okay. So for those of you who may be a little bit hesitant, a couple things that my personal experience has given me to move past the hesitation. Some of those things are just taking time to yourself. I think self-time is critical in being able to, get some fortitude about what you're worth. You know what I'm saying? To really get that, structure about yourself that says, okay, I have the courage to say exactly what I'm worth, regardless of what I've let slip past me so far. So, in my personal opinion, some things that you do, take time to yourself. The things that someone else is cutting you short, whether it's at a job, if you feel like you're not making enough money at a job, then take some time to invest yourself into your own craft that can make money.
Yes.
Once you do that, you'll start to kind of weigh out what is more important and can you provide to yourself what you're missing from this job. If it is friends, if your friends are just not coming through and you feel like, okay, in order for me to go out to eat or have a drink, I have to go with my friends, or for me to go shopping, I have to go with my friends, take yourself shopping. Don't wait on your friend.
Right.
Take yourself out to eat. Don't wait on your friend. Do whatever it is that you enjoy by yourself and determine, do I enjoy shopping, or is this just something I do with my friends? And if that is the case, you'll learn to kind of say, I really enjoy shopping. I'm going whether you're going or not. This is what I like. I would love for someone to go with me, but if you're not that one, that's fine.
Coming from someone that used to struggle more with that. One main thing was the reason why I used to kind of be scared is because I was worried about what the other person was going to think. And that would kind of make me scared to say what I needed to say for me. And so you really kind of need to not worry about what somebody else thinks when it comes to what you need for yourself.
Right. Yes, you definitely can't invest more energy into what someone else's thought is of you than it is your own perspective or value of yourself. So yeah, taking time to yourself, because taking time to yourself not only helps you, but it helps people to be like, hold up, what's going on? And they start to reflect and have some introspection about what they're delivering on their part of the relationship. That's even with a job. If you become less available to your job, if you become less responsive to, someone's immediate needs at work, they start to wonder like, hey, is there something that's going on, or something that we're not giving?
Right.
So distance yourself a bit. It helps.
When it comes to relationships, when you distance yourself, they automatically assume that it's someone else. When it's like, no, I'm just one of those people that know how to work on me. It ain't even got to do with nobody else.
I think they assume it's someone else, or they recognize something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I think in me and my husband's relationship, I don't think either of us are really thinking like, oh, it's somebody else.
Well, yeah.
But if one of us get a little quiet, silent, or distant, then it becomes like, ooh, okay, did I do something wrong? Are you okay? Are we good? And they start to introspect, and it's not always their situation,
mm-hmm.
but I think it just creates a space where people begin to think about what has changed in the relationship.
And sometimes, like how you said, taking time to yourself speaks more than actually saying it.
Mm-hmm. And then other tips to be able to move past the hesitation. Get around people who are not afraid to ask for whatever they want.
Girl, that works.
Yes, 'cause, I mean, you have those are, it's a wide spectrum of people. You can have the business professionals that have certain level of things, and they just know, no, I'm coming in, and this is what I'm asking for, and we'll work out the details later. Or you have your little ratchet friends that feel like I got $5 and you gonna give me $10 worth of wings, cause I come here all the time spending my $5. So today you could just give me double wings, you know? No, I shouldn't give you double wings, but that's how they feel. And that level of confidence to just say, I want what I want.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you shouldn't go there, but the level of confidence they have to ask for whatever it is that they want, you know, be inspired. You can find inspiration in all kind of places. Be inspired by that, because if someone can ask for something that they haven't even delivered their part for, then you can definitely ask to be met for what you bring to the table, for someone to meet your energy. With that being said, y'all, we're getting into a little hot spot before we get ready to close out today's episode. So we're into our hot seat questions. I think we're really just, you know, we had a couple of questions we were going to ask, but I really feel like there's one that I think speaks more to anything, and I'd rather go into that one. All right, y'all. So we're going to do this hot seat question, and just to keep it kind of fair, normally I wouldn't throw my husband into this, but I'm going to throw him into it real quick just to help us with a little piece of something that we hadn't sorted through previously. And so I don't want to just assume that India is going to be comfortable answering this first, and I don't want her to just automatically throw it back on me if she's not comfortable, right? So what we're about to do is do one of those little number games, and whoever gets closest to the number got to answer the question first. All right. So let me present the question. So the question doesn't seem like it may have changed because I had to go first. Okay. In case I'm the person that has to go first. So the question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you rate yourself in value? 1 being little to no value, 10 being the most valuable woman that walks the face of this earth. And you gotta tell us why. What credentials or lack thereof has placed you at that number. With that being said, hopefully you got a number in your head. And we're gonna take a turn guessing. Well, tell us the frame. You pick like 1 to 100, 1 to 10, 1 to 50. We're gonna go with
1 to 20.
1 to 20. You want to put your number out there first, or you want me to go?
I was like 16.
Oh, I was going to say 17. That's close. But I'm going to stick with my 17. That's where I was at. And she said 16. So where are we at? What was the number?
Who's the closest?
The number that I had was 8.
I was thinking, I bet his number is 9. So you were closer.
That's what I thought.
So do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
No, I'll go first.
You'll go first. Okay.
Okay, I feel like I'm an 8. And I will explain, because I'm not going to sit here and rate myself as a 10, because even though I love myself, I'm not completely happy with myself. I'm still building on myself. Throughout my 20s and now, I feel like throughout my life, I have picked up different tools and different jewels. Throughout the way, I may have put them down. I still have them, but I may have put them down, picked up some else, but I still own them. So, like, it's kind of like I got a toolbox with a whole bunch of tools, and I've picked up. And I want to get to the point where I can use them all collectively to build this person that I'm really happy with. I feel like I'm not where I want to be financially. So I feel like I knocked off a point with that. And I feel like I can work on myself when it comes to a little bit of selfishness also. You know, I'm trying to focus on more of the people around me. So I'm not really where I want to be as a person. You know, I love a lot about myself. There's a lot of great things about myself that I love, even though, you know, I mean, I do all those things now like I used to, like be indulged in certain hobbies and crafts. But I want to get back to that person where, like, I'm doing everything that I want. Hold on. I'm gonna say where I'm doing everything that I want to do, and then I feel like then I'd be like, okay, I am really happy with myself. I am centered. I am at peace with myself. So that's just why I gave myself an 8, because I have all the tools. I'm just not using them right now.
Okay. So I've kind of torn between a 6 and a 7. So I'm gonna go with the 6 because that means I'm not certain about a 7. And And the reason I'm gonna say,
I don't feel that way for you. I thought you were gonna say 10.
No, ma'am. And I can explain why. So I have high standards for people around me, but I have even higher standards for myself. And so the picture that I envision of my whole self, I know that I'm a fraction of. So if I was the full picture of my whole self as I envision it, I'd definitely be a 10. Now, am I going to be a 10 before I transition from this realm to the next? Absolutely. You can put your money on it. Probably in the next couple of years. I feel that confident about myself. However, right now, I'm above average. I am not your average female. I don't feel that. I don't feel like I'm way above average. I feel like I'm enough above average that I can recognize average and below when I see it. And I can recognize when people are a little bit ahead of where I am, or women are a little bit ahead of where I am. So with that being said, financially, I have learned so much financially, and I've learned enough to know that when it comes to where I want to be and where I am, there's a pretty significant gap. The beauty is I got a map. I know exactly how to get to where I want to be. And I'll say a year ago, I had a piece of a map. And maybe 5 years ago, I had no map at all. And so with that being said, I'm not where I want to be, but I know exactly how to get there, and I know how far away I am.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, financially, I'm not a 10. Right now, obviously I'm pregnant, but not only am I pregnant, I'm definitely not as healthy as I would like to be, both physically fit or mentally or emotionally fit. And I'm able to recognize it because there have been points in my life that, baby, I can pull them pictures up. I was bad, but I know the work I put in to be that bad.
Right.
I know the work I put in. I know the sacrifices I made. And I also know that I don't currently make those sacrifices or put in that work. And so, again, I have a roadmap. I know where it's at, but I am not there. And then learning to take time for myself. I've always been a giver. So taking time and moments and things for myself and being comfortable with it, I'm closer to there than I am to anything else, but I haven't really established a routine of self-love and self-care. So I'm at a 6, but I think I'll quickly get to a 7, 8, or 9. When I'll get to a 10, I don't know. But that's how I feel about me. And so one thing I want to know is, like, you said you're at an 8. Tell me something you're willing to do, to risk, to give, or to sacrifice just to get to a 9, for example.
Pretty much just how we said when we was talking about asking for things. I feel like for me to get to where I want to get, it's like pretty much kind of secluding myself, taking time for me, having more time for me, more like pretty much not really indulging me. I'm one of those people, it's hard for me to do two at one time. When I'm not really in a relationship, I can focus so much. Like, my focus just be off the chart. But so, like, kind of like taking more time for me and kind of putting that a little bit on the back burner. That's just me. Everybody can't multitask their lives when it comes to that. When I'm like not in a relationship or entertaining love at the moment, that can really help me with the financial part. Now with the selfishness part, I'm working on that with friends. But when I'm in a relationship, I guess I have to get into that to work that, to fix that.
So for me, what I'm willing to sacrifice. Oh, Lord, food.
That's a hard one.
I am a foodie, y'all. I am a foodie, like, to heart. And I love good food. Now, I'm not just an unhealthy food eater at all, but I love food. And I love food way more than I love exercise. I love food way more than I love yoga. I love food 1,000 times more than I love yoga. So, that's so I'm willing to sacrifice food. Now, that was lighthearted, but I meant it. Not all food, but indulging too much in things that are not necessarily beneficial to my health. I'm willing to sacrifice time that it takes to exercise, to, get out and walk, get fresh air, do yoga. I'm going to have to sacrifice some plants. I love plants.
Why you going to sacrifice some plants?
Baby, because they cost money. They cost money. They cost money, y'all. And if I'm going to get to where I want to get financially, I have to learn that I can't always see a beautiful, pretty thing that attracts me and be like, I'm going to get that. And then, you know, sometimes we fool ourselves. We'll get it, and yes, it could be an investment. It could be, but is it really?
Yeah.
You know, that might be what you tell yourself to justify things. And plants are my Achilles heel when it comes to saving. That sounds crazy, but it's real. That's
I think
my husband will tell you. He said, you know, they just pop up randomly. He's squeezing them in there, hope you don't see it, and one day he randomly sees it. So with that being said, yeah, sacrifice plants, sacrifice food.
Like, we've been had that.
That's about all I'm willing to sacrifice right now.
I don't know if I can sacrifice food. That's a hard one, because since I had my baby, trying to get back to pre-baby body, it's like.
But you're breastfeeding. I'm not sacrificing food before I stop breastfeeding. Okay, this is a little bit down the road. Well, not at least the first, you know, year. I might eat some, you know, I'll eat a little healthier, but you know, when I'm breastfeeding, now we gotta eat, honey. But we ain't gonna make it. But with that being said, y'all, it should, you know, really think about what your value is. Take a moment to have some introspection and say to yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do I rate myself and why? And then when you answer why, like whatever it is keeping you from being a 10, what are you willing to do to get a little bit closer? You don't have to skip from 6 to 10. That's why I'm really giving up food and plants. But and I'm not giving up my plants. I'm just gonna give up spending money on plants. If you have free plants that you want to send to the She's Black Show, just hit us up on a DM on the She's Black Show Instagram, Facebook. You know, we'll answer that, and I'll be more than happy to receive your plant gifts. And if you want to send me some food, hold off on the food. Just keep the food. I don't need the food. But you can send me free plants. I'll gladly take it. I'll feature them, everything. A little card from you, mention your name, shout you out. All of that. But with that being said, you know, think about what it is that you're willing to give up, sacrifice, the work you're willing to put in on yourself, just so that you can raise your value. Because y'all know what? We started off, all women are created equal or not. And I'm going to tell you, it's my opinion. Maybe we were created equal, but are all women equal? Not.
No.
Not. And the work you put in on yourself is what raises your bar.
Right.
So don't think that every woman beside you has put in your amount of work. And don't be delusional and think that you put in the same amount of work as every other person. You know, do the work. And get around those people who put in more work so you can learn what work you have to do. But we're going to go ahead and close out our show. We really, really, really appreciate you taking time out of your day, your week to join us. Make sure y'all check for us next Wednesday on our Deeper Dive Lives. That'll be live on Facebook, maybe live on Instagram with Tashi and Chazzy. Y'all know they full of love and life and light. So that's going to be a really good conversation. Talk about what you heard. Talk about what you thought. Talk about the conversations that you had with your girlfriends as a result of watching this show. And again, remember, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. Make sure you like this particular episode. Share it with your friends. Hit the notifications button so you don't miss anything. Follow us on Facebook. Yes. Follow us on Facebook at The She's Black Show. Follow us on Instagram at The She's Black Show. And join our community at www.theshesblackshow.com. All right, our closing affirmation this week is,
what is it?
My value is not determined by the way someone else sees my worth.
I like that.
That is it. Y'all have a lovely, lovely, lovely week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.